Am I the a-hole for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent if he moves in with me? This is a doozy. I've been dating Josh for a year. I should say now that I, 24 female, don't ever want to be legally married, and Josh, 30 male, is divorced and doesn't want to remarry. We also live in a place where there is no common law marriage. Still, we want to take things a bit further, and we're talking about Josh and his 2 daughters moving in with me. I own a 3-bed, 2-bath house in a nice area. Josh rents a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment, and his lease is coming up. My mortgage is $1,000 a month, and Josh's rent is $1,400 a month. It was important to me that we would have everything figured out before making the change, so that there would be no surprises or disagreements about who pays what. I figured it would be unreasonable for Josh to expect to just live with me for free, especially since I'd be giving up one of my rooms so his daughters could have a room. So, I suggested that Josh pays $700 a month to me in rent, half of what he is currently paying. I would cover the cost of any home repairs, internet, garbage, etc. Then, we would split utilities. Even though there's 3 of them and 1 of me, I don't mind splitting since that would be about what I'm currently paying, I predict. And since I meal prep once a week, I would just get my own groceries and he could get theirs. When I laid everything out, Josh was very unhappy and said since it's my house, he shouldn't have to pay rent and that we should split groceries. I told him he was welcome to buy his own house and I would move in with him and happily pay rent while renting out my own house. He was mad at me because he said he's not in a position where he can buy a house. We can't come to an agreement, so I suggested he just find another apartment as the owners aren't letting him renew, and we could revisit the topic in a year. He's not happy with that either, because rent prices have skyrocketed here, and 2 bedrooms now go for around $1,800 a month, and he thinks he won't be able to find a place he can afford. I'm a bit frustrated because I feel like $700 a month is a really good deal compared to the likely $1,800 he will have to pay. Since we aren't going to get married or anything, I don't understand why he thinks I would be okay with him living for free with his 2 kids. I'm happy to have romance and companionship, but shared assets and finances are not something I want in life. I don't want to support a man. Am I the a-hole for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent? Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the a-hole. Your solution is perfectly reasonable. If he doesn't like your rental price, he is free to find his own home. Unless he's just been dating you so he could eventually move in and his daughters in and pay no rent. See, that's something I'm really worried about. I work with a lot of successful women, and I've seen a lot of them broke dirtbag guys who just mooch off them. I like Josh, and we have a good time when we're together, and the intimacy is great. But I don't think that is good enough for $700 a month if you know what I mean. Moving in with you would save him a significant amount of money. He should be grateful for that offer. Him being upset and wanting to pay nothing is a huge red flag. Trust your gut, OP. It doesn't sound like it's going to get better with this guy. Not the a-hole. You're about to be taken for a ride if you give in and let him move in without paying rent. My advice, from all my years, as someone who also doesn't want to get remarried, maintain separate homes. You lose out if you let him move in. That's what I'm thinking. I'm already a bit apprehensive because his kids are a bit wild. But he isn't happy with living separately because he's going to have to pay a really high rent. But I think I'll probably just tell him to either agree to my terms or get over it. I don't know. Him wanting to save money is not a good enough reason to live together. Plus, the fact that you and him are already having issues that you're struggling to come to an agreement is probably a sign that you guys aren't compatible to live together. Not the a-hole, and listen to your gut. Well, this is the only real disagreement we've had in the last year. I'm trying to be optimistic and think that maybe he just needed an outside perspective. Now for the mini update. So I showed Josh this post and he thinks you all are wrong. So here's some input from him. Leslie makes $120K a year and I make $30K. I'm living paycheck to paycheck supporting 2 kids with no help from my ex-wife. It's gotten so expensive here that at this rate, I'm not even going to be able to feed my kids soon without going to the food bank. No matter what, they're going to get fed. But it's not fair that she owns a house and can go on vacations or spend $400 a month getting her hair done, when I can't even buy my kids name brand cereal. She shouldn't charge me to live with her because she should understand that I want to be able to spend whatever I can, giving my kids the childhood that they deserve. Not for me, but for them. So thanks Reddit. Oh, you won, and I'm glad I posted here. After a very loud and angry argument with Josh, I broke up with him. Despite pretty much everyone telling him he was wrong, Josh insisted that I should basically support the three of them because it's what would be best for his kids. He doesn't seem to understand that they aren't my kids, and no one is going to want to bankroll the three of them. At least no one with a brain. The point is, I'm young, good-looking, and I own a house. I can do better than a broke single dad who has no education and a crappy job, who thinks it's okay to mooch off me and scream in my face when I tell him no. Hope your next girlfriend is stupid enough to put up with you, Josh. No wonder your ex-wife left. Next story. Am I the a-hole for counting down the days until my daughter turns 18 so I can stop being legally responsible for her? I married my wife about 2 years ago and she has a daughter from a previous relationship. Early on during our dating period, she made it clear that her daughter has a father and she's not looking for another father for her. The ground rules were set by her, which is that I will be an adult figure but not a parental one. I will have no say in how she is to be brought up, and I can't punish her in any way. Considering she was 14 when her mom and I met and 15 when we married, I agreed to her rules. My thinking is that she's already too old for me to make any difference in her life anyway, so I make it an issue. Fast forward a couple of years and my life has been a nightmare. The girl constantly gets into trouble and has been kicked out of several schools. She lived with her father at a time. She had to move in with us so she could attend a new high school in order to graduate. She's been suspended several times at this high school, but it looks like she'll graduate on time. While living with us, she's gotten into 2 car accidents. One was when she was drunk, and we had to remortgage our house to pay her attorney fees and legal bills. The judge dressed us down in court for not being better parents. I'm not a legal expert at all, but from movies and shows, I know that judges can jail you for arguing, so I bit my tongue and took it. It was humiliating. The girl is a couple of months away from being an adult, and this weekend, I was out with the guys and she came up in conversation. I complained about how much money I've spent bailing her out of trouble, and that I can't wait until she turns 18 so she can face her own consequences. Word got back to my wife and she blew her top. I still don't think I said anything wrong, but I'm staying at a motel tonight. I want to be clear, we're not kicking her out, and considering she doesn't work, she'll be living with us for a while. I'm just waiting for the day she's an adult so I won't be yelled at by any more judges. If you're not a parental figure, why are you paying for these things at all? You're a saint for putting up with this. Not a-hole. Mom wants to have her cake and eat it too. Actually, Mom wants to be a terrible mother and wanted to ruin any possible relationship her daughter and her husband could have had. She is the problem, not the daughter. Dude, why are you so worried about being jailed? Trust me, you are already in a prison of your own making. Not the a-hole. I'm not sure that's fair. Unless there were a ton of warning signs that he's not mentioning, how was he supposed to know when the girl was 14 that she would end up being so terribly behaved? Because you should date someone for more than a year before getting married, especially when a kid is involved. Not a-hole, but you should probably be rethinking your whole marriage, because this is not going to stop when she turns 18. Yeah, but at 18, she's a legal adult and he can wash his hands off her. His daughter will have to clean up her own messes. He's not legally bound to pay for anything related to the law or damages she may do. No, but his wife is still there and clearly doesn't like that stance. It's not going to be as clear-cut as 18 and cutting the cord. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my in-laws to come on vacation with me? I have been with my partner for 4 years. He has 2 kids with his ex-wife, while I have none and don't plan to. Our household income is okay, and he earns the majority of it. He earns 65% of the total income. The last 4 years, he has insisted that we pay 50-50 to household bills, despite the fact he earns far more than what I earn, and his kids stay with us regularly. I pay half the rent, bills and grocery, which is expensive for someone on my salary. Then he wants to buy a house near his ex-wife so he can be closer to his kids. So he says it's important that I pick up 50% of the costs now, so that allows him to save more of his money for our future. The money he isn't paying into bills, but goes straight into his own savings account, not a joint one. He does not really acknowledge he has underpaid bills the last 4 years. I've calculated he's underpaid between 16,000 to 19,000 pounds. When he first moved in, without his kids, I picked up all the bills. I paid out over 8,000 pounds in rent and bills, while I paid around 1,100 pounds towards food. Not long ago, he asked if I wanted to go away for the following weekend. I said sure, and we talked about where we could go. He then went to visit his parents, and later that evening he messaged me an Airbnb link for a lodge by the beach to visit that weekend. He asked if his family could come, and he said he'd pay more than 50% if I agreed to them coming. I don't have any family, plus his mom and dad have beat cancer recently, so I said yes to his folks and grown-up brother coming, and booked and paid for the Airbnb. A few days ago, he wanted to settle the vacation bill and has offered to pay 60% of the total. I've kicked off stating the obvious. There were 7 people in that lodge, and 6 of them were his family, so my portion of that bill should be 15%. Am I wrong? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, but why are you with this guy? It sounds like you were funding so much of his life and not getting anything out of this relationship other than being so financially weakened. It would be hard for you to leave. Because being alone is lonely. That's what most of these posts boil down to. Am I the a-hole for finally not putting up with this crappy person? OP, ask yourself this question. If the situation were reversed and you made more money than your partner, would you make the same demands that you are letting him make from you? So why are you allowing him to make you struggle and sacrifice when you would never expect the same if the situation were reversed? To answer the post, not the a-hole, and he is 100% the a-hole, because his family may not know what you make, but he does. And he clearly doesn't respect you nor your financial situation in the slightest. Don't accept treatment that you would never expect of others. You deserve an equal partnership with deep respect. You realize he's not going to put your name on that house, right? If that house was really for your future, he would set up a savings account with both of your names on it. He's just using you to pay enough bills that he can save enough for a house, and more than likely, dump you once he's purchased the house. Put your foot down. Tell him the money distribution isn't fair, and you will only pay 35% of the bills, but offer to put that 50% you are saving toward a house and a mutual savings account. And you want your name on the deed as 35% owner. Insist on getting a lawyer and having an agreement drafted. If he refuses, then you have your answer. He's just using you. Also, don't let him gaslight you or persuade you into seeing his side of things. Tell him this isn't anything personal, even if it is. It's just protecting yourself and your future. Again, if he declines or argues, dump him and move on. Last story. Am I the a-hole for letting my daughters share a room even though they don't need to anymore, and despite my ex asking me not to? My ex and I have 2 daughters who are 9 and 10. They're 20 months apart to be specific. They are as close as twins, and they look alike enough that they're mistaken for such sometimes. They get their weekends with me, which until a couple months ago, they had to share a room, because my apartment only had 2 bedrooms. Luckily, my financial situation has improved, and I now have a small house with 3 bedrooms for them. The thing is, they didn't want to have their own rooms. They liked sharing because it's like sleepover every night, and asked me if they could keep sharing. I figured I'd be an idiot if I didn't support my children getting along, so I agreed. The extra bedroom is just a guest room for now, but if/when they change their mind, they can take it. Their mother is not happy about this. They never had to share a room over there, and apparently, they've been asking to. She's getting tired of that, and she asked me to split them up so they'd stop bothering her. I had a talk with them about not asking her anymore, and how different houses have different rules, but I'm letting them keep sharing a room. Their mother thinks I'm encouraging codependency and that this isn't healthy, but I've seen no sign of that. They're in different grades and classes, have different friends, and do different activities and cope fine. They're perfectly healthy, happy kids, and I see no harm in what I'm doing. But she says I'm going to cause tension between her and them by letting them do something they can't over there. Not the a-hole. Your ex seems pretty controlling and doesn't want her daughters to be happier in your place. I don't see anything wrong with them sharing a room if they want to. They're little kids for Pete's sake. That's it exactly. She doesn't want them getting excited about going to their father's. She sees what is coming and is afraid she will lose their love. And all she would have to do is let them share a room at her place, and the girls could be happy all the time. She is the one causing the rift. Opie, you are not the a-hole. Your daughters are happy with the arrangement. It's not causing you any stress. And the only person with beef is someone who has no say over the rules in your house. There'll come a time when the girls may want their own rooms, but until then, there's nothing wrong with keeping things as they are. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. My 11 and 7-year-old girls shared a room until a year ago. I try not to let them sleep in each other's rooms on school nights, but most weekends, they spend at least one night in one another's rooms or beds. The amount they and yours are sharing is not harming them at all. Let them bond. Once they ask for the space and room, you have it. Good luck. Not the a-hole. When they're with you, it's entirely your decision. And sounds to me like you're making the right one. It's too bad mom isn't happy, but her goal is literally to make her kids less happy. So unless she's actually an expert on codependency, then her opinion here isn't worth more than what you think and what your kids want. Am I the a-hole for not adopting my niece and sending her to foster care? I'm 34 male. My sister, 27, has a very long history of choosing toxic partners while ignoring her daughter who is 8 years old. The last man she has chosen as a romantic partner is a thug who would do meth in front of the little girl. When I discovered this, I sent CPS on their house. Sending them to jail for child mistreatment and neglect was a quick process because there was evidence of it everywhere in that house. However, there was no one else to take care of the child. I took temporary custody but cannot take care of a child for the rest of my life. I just can't. I don't have enough money and time or energy for that. I never wanted kids, and I was okay with living a good enough life where I can keep myself afloat, and adding a kid to my lifestyle would break me financially. My niece was heartbroken, but I hope she can understand when becomes older. Because of that, she was put in the system in a house with other foster kids. My family's bashing me over this. My mom said that I destroyed a family and then didn't even care to adopt a child. Some of my uncles said the same. My best friend also told me that the system could be worse than whatever happened at my sister's house because she could at least have her mom besides her. I visit my niece quite frequently. She is always glad to see me but always asks at least once during the day why she can't live with me. And I say, because I can't give you a good life. Anyway, I'm very lost right now. Did I do the right thing? Now for the top comments. As a former foster youth, not the a-hole, it is going to be very hard for her in care. But if she gets a good home, they are more prepared for the trauma she went through. However, I will say you're the a-hole if you plan on leaving her life. Talk to her foster parents, case social worker, whoever, and set up regular visits. Like weekly visits. Maybe you can sign up as a respite as her parent so you can care for her sometimes, but not be a parent. Be present in her life because I'm sure she's lonely right now. Excellent advice. I hope Opie reads your post. Because if she doesn't get a good home, at least the family will be on notice that uncle is present and checking in on her. Why is no one else in the family stepping up to take her in? I don't really know. I think they stick it to me because I'm the only one still childless. Exactly. I hate when people criticize adults without children and try and pressure them to have kids or dump their own kids on them. You can sign up to be a foster parent. As an immediate relative to her parent, you get priority. And we will bend over backwards to get you certified so you can keep her. Then send you checks to help. If money is really the only thing stopping you, please call and ask about foster care certification. She could be in foster care in your home. Wouldn't that be awesome? I didn't know that. Maybe could look into it. Yes, and they will pay you a monthly sum for her care, maybe even food stamps. I used to work at a summer camp at a YMCA where half of the kids were foster care kids. The states paid for the summer camp for the foster kids. If money is your biggest worry, and money can pay for a babysitter, after-school care, summer camp, etc., then let someone at CPS know and ask them what resources they have available. Wherever she is now or goes, group home or foster placement is getting paid. They can pay you that money so she can stay. Good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take care of my children's half-sister while their father has surgery? My ex and I share 3 children together ages 12, 11, and 9. Our marriage broke down bitterly more than 8 years ago. He had fallen for someone else. She was someone who had treated me like crap for months for what was then an unknown reason to me. But either they were having an emotional affair or a physical one, but something was brewing between them. She took her anger at the fact he was married out onto me, and when he was finally honest and open with me, he allowed her to come into the home we had shared to tell me she was going to be my kid's mom, and she would take my life over. So things were not good for a long time, and I have never forgiven him for how all of that was handled, especially when I had a very difficult time after the birth of our youngest. Fast forward 18 months and they're married, and she's pregnant. Ex is having a hard time getting our kids excited and happy, and attempted to get me to play happy family with them for the sake of the kids. I told him that the only positive thing I could do was say nothing at all, because I was not going to play friends or like a caring family member for them or their baby. When his daughter was born, the mom bailed. Apparently, she hadn't really wanted kids, just him, but realized he was never going to love her more than the kids. She died a little less than 6 months later. When he found out, he wanted me to get involved with his daughter. He told me his ex wasn't coming back, and that he had 3 kids with 2 parents and 1 with just him. I told him I would never be that little girl's mother. Over the years, I have attempted to get used to this little girl. She's innocent and my children's half-sister. I'm not playing a familial role, but I am friendly around her and interact with her on occasion. Mostly I try to make things easier for my kids. Ex tried to remarry again, but his daughter wanted a mother, and the woman did not want to be one, so she's had a chaotic life. Ex has been suffering from some health problems for a number of years now. He's due to have a pretty big surgery to try and help, but he has nobody who can take care of his daughter while he's off his feet. So he asked me. He also asked if I would be willing to become her guardian if something were to happen to him. This is where more hard lines were drawn, and I said no. He begged me, and I told him I did not want to raise his child nor look after her, / spend that amount of time with her. He told me it would be better for her to be with me than friends of his who have no kids. He said it would be better for her to be with family. I told him there was no way. He tried to get our kids involved, but they told him it would be weird for her to live with us. I was angry at him for involving them like that. We argued for more than a week. He called me an a-hole for taking this out on his child. Then I found out she knew. She looked so sad when I saw her last. But knowing what she's been through, I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Some questions have been asked a few times, so I feel like I should try to answer in my main post. Ex's family are not involved. They do not like each other, and they do not have a relationship. They do not stay in touch. Last I knew, they all live in different countries and have no interest in a relationship. The mom's family, it's complicated and I can't go into a lot, but they're not involved, and are not really suitable people to have around / raising a child, so they would not be around to take care of her either. My children are not close with her. They are not unkind, but they are far closer with each other than they are her, and they don't have the same relationship with her as they have with each other. It's not even close to it, really. The little girl in question is 6. Not the a-hole at all. Why would he even tell her, a 6-year-old, that you refused it if not to emotionally manipulate you? He's a disgusting human being. Don't let him make you feel bad, because you've done nothing wrong. I don't believe he told her. I think he got careless while arguing with me and didn't make sure she was out of earshot. The only reason I think that is because he looked so guilty last I saw him. He even sounds it, more than he ever did for anything else. At least he has that much going for him. I was thinking he was the weaselest weasel who ever weaseled. First off, wow. I can't fathom the amount of hurt you've been through with him. Definitely not the a-hole. You have no obligation to him after what he put you through. Oh, he put me through a world of hurt. And really, I'm only starting to feel the edges coming off the anger. Still can't forgive him, and I doubt I ever will. But the way he treated me, allowed her to treat me, and then expected me to act like they were my BFFs? I'll never forget that time of my life. That's for sure. Looking at the timeline, you were pregnant and/or with a baby when that all went down. That would have made it extra scary and added extra pain to the memories. I understand how he feels it is in the best interest of the child to keep her with her siblings in the event of his death. The problem is that it's too much to ask of you. Has he ever really even apologized for his cruelty to you? Not the a-hole. That man is a horrendous, manipulative piece of work. That's as polite as I can be talking about someone like him. I hate him, and I've never met him, lol. You're not the a-hole, not even remotely, and good on you for standing your ground and not being manipulated into anything. I genuinely hope that his daughter is happy and very well cared for though. Little Angel deserves nothing but love and happiness. Next story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my mom after she said she probably can't attend my husband's memorial? My female 28 husband died a month ago. My heart feels like it's been ripped out of my chest, but I'm trying to get through it all. The funeral was small, in his home state. We have the memorial on Saturday, which friends and extended family are attending. My mom is very close to her siblings. I want to add that I also have a good relationship with my cousins, aunts, and uncles. But my reaction isn't based off some build-up anger or something. My 5-year-old cousin fell yesterday and hit his head. He had a pretty bad bruise and vomited. They went to the ER. He got checked out with a CT scan, and thankfully everything is fine internally. My aunt let the family know what was going on, and my mom was going crazy with worry. She let me know and told me to talk to my aunt, so I called her and she was crying, saying how scared they all got. Then mom said she wasn't sure if she could attend my husband's memorial depending on how my cousin is doing. I was pretty shocked. She said that my aunt and uncle are going through a lot of emotional turmoil and she's worried about them. Now, I will completely understand if my aunt's family can't make it, but I want my mother to be with me through my emotional turmoil. I admit I sort of lost it. I cried/yelled at her on the phone that I'm sorry what happened to my cousin, but they are fine. My husband is dead. I'm barely holding it together, and now she's telling me she can't make it? My mom said I'm overreacting and something really bad could have happened to my cousin. I hung up. She just sent me a message saying she understands I'm emotional and she'll try to make it, but I should be more understanding towards my baby cousin. I decided to post here for some unbiased opinions if I went too far yelling at my mom. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I feel like her daughter should take priority over a child with 2 functioning parents. Then to gaslight you over your feelings? Damn. Her mother is trying to make it seem as though a child with 2 parents being injured is more important than her daughter grieving the recent death of her husband. To say her daughter is overreacting is discounting her very reasonable feelings on the situation. Is gaslighting. Exactly that. Sorry for your cousin. As a father, I know how stressful it can be, and I'm glad cousin's fine. But they have each other, while you shouldn't be alone. You have every reason to lose it for whatever reason, and this one's particularly justified. My sincere condolences for your loss. Yes, mom said something terrible could have happened to the cousin? Well, something irrevocably terrible happened to Opie's husband, and mom should definitely be there. So sad. Exactly this. The parents are beside themselves and in emotional turmoil over something that could have been bad but wasn't. Neither of these people are going to make it as parents if they get this caught up in every fall, bump, and bruise. And Opie's mom is enabling this? WTF. Opie, you are so not the a-hole. And honestly, if my mom did something this heartless, I probably wouldn't talk to her for a long time. Not saying you should cut her off. Just saying that's what I would do because I'd be so hurt/angry. Also, my sincerest condolences about your husband. I can't even imagine being that heartbroken and not having my mom there to comfort me. Absolutely not the a-hole. If there is ever a time that your mom absolutely needs to put her worries and other people's needs aside for you, it is now. This should have been a non-negotiable arrangement for her apart from in absolute emergencies. I don't know what support she can possibly provide to the parents of the child who is doing fine that could ever outweigh the support you need from her right now. So sorry for your loss, Opie. I hope you have people around you, mother or not. Yep, the fact that your mother considered leaving your side for what could have been is weird and tells me she likes drama. Not the a-hole, and I'm so very sorry for your loss. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to speak at my severely disabled brother's funeral? My 18-male brother, 14-male, was severely disabled. He had autism with the mind of 12-month-old. Most of the memories I have from before his birth were positive, but these are limited since I was only 4 when he was born. My parents suspected that something wasn't right when he was 18 months and regressing. From what they told me, he said his first word at 14 months and was reaching his milestones, but one day at 18 months he just started regressing. He was diagnosed with autism, and it was severe autism not long afterwards. He got what's called respite care starting when he was 6 years old, and someone would look after him for several hours most days of the week. In spite of this, the respite care decreased as he got older and I was in charge of him a lot. This meant little to no time with friends, no after-school sports, just looking after that thing. My brother outgrew me when he was 12 and I was 16. I'm only 5'6", 125 pounds. He was 5'10", 295 pounds. I'll let you figure out where this is going. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and PTSD. The former also likely because of him. My brother suffered a heart attack and died on the 11th. He was very obese and also had a heart condition we knew nothing about. I got the news while at school. The principal called me to his office and broke the news. I'm not going to lie. I cried out of happiness, and I basically celebrated in his office. He awkwardly dismissed me, and when I got home from school, my parents yelled at me that I was heartless. But I told them that I had no life because of him, and they've hinted that I would have been his full-time caregiver sometime in the future. I hated my brother. I'm grounded until further notice and have been since Tuesday of last week. I'm typing this from an old iPhone I found in my nightstand drawer. My parents are basically making me write a speech to recite at his funeral, which is on Saturday, with my dad writing some rough drafts, but I told them no. I feel for my parents because nobody should have to experience losing a child, but when I found out he died, it was as if the world had been lifted off my shoulders. Not the a-hole for not wanting to read a speech. You're the a-hole for everything else. I get that you hated your brother, but it's not about him right now. Your parents are grieving. Badly. Don't be an ass and celebrate their trauma. I'm not celebrating their trauma. It's not my intention. I celebrated the fact that I will finally have a life and maybe overcome my PTSD now that it's gone. And you celebrated very publicly. Intentions or not, the result is the same. Your parents just lose one of their child, and the other one is laughing in their face at their misfortune. Imagine how hard this must be for them. Try to have a little empathy for them. They don't deserve this. Opie is a mentally ill teenager who spent most of his life being parentified and neglected in favor of his younger brother. If Opie's parents didn't want him to feel this way about his younger brother, or about their parents for that matter, they should have made better choices. You need therapy. You're right. I'm hoping that when/if I become ungrounded, that I will start the path to recovery. Don't wait. Talk to your school counselor. My school schedule is full 8 to 3. And my mom picks me up from school promptly after since I got my car keys taken away. And sessions during lunch isn't optional because she doesn't allow food in her office. I've got an 8:30 bedtime because I'm grounded. So sorry for not responding anymore.